Many of us, at least once in our lives, have encountered a loan, which has long become fashionable to take out, and this fashion for loans has not yet passed. And in society, to the talk about weather and health, now there is also a talk about loans. This is talk about who pays what interest on the loan, what kind of loan was taken out by the person and for what period, and so on. Living on credit has become the norm for us, and many of us have long forgotten what it means to live within our means. I won't say that this is bad, even though I said it before, but still life is in debt. It's some kind of not entirely free life. However, given the current inflation and economic instability, who knows what is better, to accumulate this husk, called money, or to consume it while there is such an opportunity. I also look at credit from a psychological point of view. Here I am, I don't like to be owed anything by someone, in particular. I don't like it when I bear this moral burden of responsibility for the money that I take from the bank. However, I understand that in our time it is impossible to do without loans. I understand that the entire economy is built on them, that our system, which works more or less stably, works thanks to debts. Why is it designed this way and not otherwise? Well, you turn your attention to human nature, to the greed of people, to their irrepressible appetites, to their endless desires. This is how, one might ask, to satisfy such an unsatisfied being as a person, how to force him to act for the benefit of society. It's not by force to do this, not by a stick. History teaches us that force does not lead to anything good. If you force people to do something, then they will turn into cattle. And with cattle today, you won't get far. A person wants what? To have everything and do nothing. So, well, if a person does not work, if he only does what to consume, then what will we come to? Chaos and mutual destruction. We'll gnaw each other's throats over the last crackers. Therefore, you need to offer something to a person. Some carrot in front of his nose needs to be driven. Here, a loan is the very carrot that hangs in front of most people's noses. We need to think big in order to understand that this whole credit and financial system in which you and I live while we are still living is not just a way of managing people that those in power use to live at the expense of everyone else, but it is also a way to maintain order in society, a way to keep our entire animal system under control. We're fucking animals. Without laws and other attributes of the civilized world, we will slide into a savagery that is unlikely to suit most of us. There is no need to think about ourselves more than we are. It is better to think practically and live in accordance with the achievements that the civilized world has come to, that is, the most suitable for normal, humanized people. A person takes out a loan and acquires something that gives him pleasure and gives his life meaning. And if people are not satisfied with their lives, they will cease to obey the order of things that allowed us to create an orderly and more or less disciplined society, living according to civilized laws, and not according to the laws of the jungle. There will be no carrot for people in the form of loans and all the nonsense that they buy with these loans. Then they will have to use the stick to control them. They will have to build camps with barbed wire and towers with machine gunners. They will have to return a primitive form of slavery to make people work. What? You think it's never gonna happen again? You are mistaken. Of course, slavery still exists in one form or another today, for example in China, which personally gives me goosebumps, because many businessmen I know worked with the Chinese and they told me how people, children of women and even old people are exploited there. There, many people, workers first of all, live in inhumane conditions and work very hard. Here is an example of what alternative the value system that the credit and financial system offers us has. It is clear that people work there for money, but I think that if you put a machine gun to their head, they will not stop working. And I don't think that most of you will like working from morning to evening for a bowl of rice, instead of the loans that we are fed today. There are values that we should all protect, otherwise other values will come in their place, those that you will not protect, but will be afraid of. Credit allows a person to do something right here and now. For example, you can take out a loan to create a business and thus move away from hired work to working for yourself, which is undoubtedly more profitable and interesting. And although our business has been greatly squeezed lately, nevertheless, compared to the bestial attitude towards workers that, alas, exists in our society, business is much better. Thanks to the loan, you can also get the things you need, for example a car or, I don't know, the same shower stall, for example, thus improving the quality of your life. And since life is limited in time, it is better not to try to save constantly depreciating money for some really worthwhile thing, for example, a car, but to take it on credit. It's better to take what you need right away on credit and start using it, gradually paying the bank money, which in most cases is not that big, so as to have too much of a negative impact on the budget of a working person. You just need to calculate your strength when taking out a loan, so as not to be weighed down by them to such an extent that you can't even breathe. You need to know the measure in everything, you need to understand it. So you either live right here and now, or, if you have such a desire, you go towards a prosperous life for several years, as, for example, I did. I don't need loans, I can earn the amount of money I need. I have already said that my psychological state does not allow me to owe someone anything, so I will go towards a better life in a way that is convenient for me, and you choose for yourself a path convenient for you. But my path is not an easy path, I warn you right away. Besides, there is no stability in the life that businessmen live. I lost my money many times and sank, well, if not to the very bottom, then low enough to fall into despair. And although it's unpleasant for me to remember, I have to, but what to do, where to put those unpleasant imprints in my memory, and not erase them, in the end. But this is also an experience that is useful, because as you know, it doesn't matter how many times you fall, it matters how many times you rise. So, if you want to take out loans and live until our economy completely collapses, but if you want, fight like I do. Fight for a better life with the help of your mind, and don't go for the carrot hanging in front of your nose. But can we say about each of you that you are ready for ups and downs in the struggle for a good, well-fed life? In the struggle for so-called financial independence? I'm sure not. After all, this is not the first day I've lived, so I know that not everyone is ready for any active struggle for a place in the sun and above the sun. And loans, we have them at hand, you just need to take them and start using this money, not yours, but, nevertheless, under your control. It's simple, although not always profitable due to high interest rates on the loan, but simple. Is it easier to save money that is losing value before your eyes? Is it easier to watch how you are brazenly and cynically robbed, devaluing your work? Is it easier to realize that you are just someone's brute, and not a person who is cut when the owner needs money? What we call money is not money, it's crap. If they depreciate, they're shit. And we work for this crap, no less than what time it is. It's already 12 to 14 hours. Yes, there are people who spend just that much time to earn a living. Despite the fact that it is enough for a person to work for himself, just some 2, at most 3 hours, no more. And the rest of the time we are forced to work on the parasites sitting on our necks. And this despite the instability in the economy that we are seeing today. That is, no one knows what will happen tomorrow, however, no one. What if a war breaks out in the world? People, damn it, remained wild. What if some kind of financial apocalypse begins, because today's financial tycoons are so blinded by greed that they no longer control themselves at all, they are already eating 10 throats, choking, but eating. So what, are we going to put off a better life there until tomorrow, or will we live today? You see what a dilemma we have. In general, each, as they say, has their own. Some people want and succeed in living a free and well-fed life, while others have no choice but to use what is offered. And today loans are offered at every step, in all possible ways, because for banks and microfinance organizations, this is a business. And this business is very profitable, although risky, because not all borrowers repay the money they borrowed from the bank on time. Moreover, some do not want to repay loans at all, because they are used to living at someone else's expense. And it seems to me that in relation to such people, our legislation is too soft, because if you do not raise an arrogant person, then there will be even more impudence in him. So living on credit is, of course, not a heavenly life, but quite acceptable for most ordinary people if you know how to live it.